I think it's a great way to start the morning. And thanks for Joyce for providing this landscape study and the research. I really find encouraging. In fact, when we see that promoting local agriculture is the second most important or critical issues that I think the public belief would help out in our city's sustainability development is already very encouraging. And what I'm going to share with all of you today, this morning also, is that actually we can have very down-to-earth solution, and through real-life examples, I would be sharing with you how actually we as citizens, we could, from individual change, mindset change, and collectively we create a society and city impact. So we'll start with shaping more livable cities through our communities, and also introducing about this whole urban farming lifestyle, which over the past 10 years, me and our team has been promoting in the city. And we are very encouraged to see that it is becoming a mainstream. And in fact, we believe farming is like coding in a way. It is a new age scale or new scale for future city development, or in fact, more the sustainability or sustainable city development. It will become a critical skill for urban agriculture or the ability to grow food. So let me go into the detail of the sharing. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yes, so I think our city and also the rest of the world, with COVID, we are having this whole awakening about a global issue. The whole pandemic really is a wake-up call, and it only tells us how vulnerable we are with our current food system. And I think in Chinese, we have these 4 basic things about life. We call it Yi, Sek, Ju, Hang, being clothing, housing, those very fundamental needs issues, and then also food, and then transportations and other means of commute. And this forms the kind of basic 4 quadrant of I would say happiness in life. And yet at the food level, with the development of global pandemic, what we see is one side of our world, we have a few days of panic buying, and I think the awakening is a lot of people are asking the questions that do we really have enough food for everyone, and do we have enough food for the community? Because we do see that during the few days, there's out of fresh vegetables, for example, a lot of supermarket or a lot of stores. As a result, a lot of countries or even cities are looking into solutions to say, hey, you know what, we need to increase the supply of food production. However, today, there's a big but to it, is that I would like to highlight to all of us as well, is indeed, among this awakening, on the other side of the world, there's also a huge wastage of food concurrently happening. So if we take the whole concept of this whole carbon neutral way, yes, we are in a way also food neutral, because we have a shortage of food in one side, we have a lot of production on the other side of the world, but at the same time we are wasting a lot. We are throwing a lot of food into our landfill. In fact, by statistic, about 50% of the world's food production go to waste, and this is in a way is a crime and need to be resolved urgently before, I would say, or I will argue that to look into purely or mindlessly just boosting or increasing production, because this whole ecosystem and whole sustainable economy come hand in hand. I will illustrate a little bit further, but the urgency of the issue comes about is also is a way of this urban lifestyle that we have. As a result of that, we discover our generation and our next generation, we are very much disconnected with food and the whole food system that we talk about. And this problem is only going to be aggravated by the fact that over 70% of the world's population is going and moving into urban states. So thus, it brings the even more urgent issue is how do we together can develop a more sustainable urban development and future cities that we can shape. So a few of us, city boys, city girls, we have no background in agriculture in our past life. We come from a very much corporate world, and we believe that every one of us has the responsibility, and we can be the change to shape for the better cities that we're going to live in. So when we look at the city landscape, we ask ourselves is how do we reintroduce nature back to our spaces? There's just so few of them, and everyone, I think when we talk about Hong Kong being 100% urbanized, we have these questions about just how do we get the nature back, and is it just enough to look at it from an aesthetic point of view, right? So here we are for Rooftop Republic. We're established for 5 years, and for the past 5 years, we have been asking the same question as well. And I just would like to share with you this example. This location previously was a decommissioned helicopter landing pad. And for any reasons that there won't be people probably going up there, or there's any form of nature to be happening. But yet, with a little bit of innovation and ideas, we actually partner with the building management and sit down together and see how with the addressing the technicality, of course, the public safety in ensuring all these factors are being looked into to reintroduce agriculture or urban farming right in the financial center, right? It is in actually, you can walk from our current location in Central. You can just walk there. This building is in Central itself. And when we turn around and we see that the possibility of the city is there, is right in front of our eyes, and on a lot of rooftops that are currently idling, we could actually work together with either the developers, the building management companies, or even corporates who are renting those floors with access to the rooftops, and turn them into green spaces. And we don't stop there, because I think just by looking at this picture, there's a very important element that when we look into future sustainability, we may not naturally think in that way. I think in our conversation, somehow this whole issue about carbon footprint, about greening our city, it need to come back to people. And that is the critical important factor, is where we are building this whole space, we are shaping our future cities for our future mankind, in fact. So when we look into that space, we ask ourselves is, if we just turn them into simple green roof or do some greening for aesthetic, then it lost the valuable opportunity for us to engage the next generation. So urban agriculture becomes then a fantastic lifestyle opportunity to have this lifestyle change and conversation with our current generation and future generation about the topic on food. And this picture is very heartwarming because you look at the just very innocent smiles from the children, but yet it's also very heartbreaking at the same time because this is the first time in their life that they see a carrot being plucked out from the soil. And we were actually playing a treasure hunt game with carrots in the soil just right in front of their eyes, and yet they just can't recognize it. So it sends a very strong message back to us then is when we talk about technology, we talk about 5G, we talk about smart cities, are we really become smarter as a consumer, as an end consumer, or more importantly is are we wiser in the selection and choices that we make in terms of our consumption, in terms of the way that we would like to shape our future cities. So all these are very, very critical issues, and yet with a very simple down-to-earth urban farming or urban agriculture lifestyle integrating into city spaces, we have all this opportunity of engagement and conversation coming up. And so coming back is then we ask ourselves, what does the city lack, right, in the whole conversation about the future in terms of sustainability, or rather, what does our future sustainable city need as a new skill, right? I was sharing in the intro is I think coding and programming nowadays we're teaching our young kids like as a new skill, right? And we would like to suggest that in fact knowing about how food is grown, knowing how to grow it, knowing when is the best time to grow them, and also in the whole journey of reconnecting of food, we know about them and knowing about how to treasure them is also a very, very important and critical skill that has been lost over the past 30 to 50 years of high or rapid economic growth. And we don't have to stay there, or we don't have to just let the status quo. I think with COVID, the new awakening is a fantastic opportunity for us to ask this question and come together as a community and say, how do we reintroduce knowing about food and knowing about our food system as a new skill set very much needed for the future of our urban development. Okay, so and when I mention about that is all this initiative about sustainability needs to come back one very, very critical and important factor where we call it a very down to earth, no pun intended, in fact, it's really come back to our planet. And you will find it interesting because this word about earth is the only thing that have a dual meaning for us, is that our earth is also the quality, right? The quality of our earth health is the quality of our soil, in fact. And with the current food system over monoculture and use of artificial and chemicals, fertilizer, pesticides, is just simply destroying our local habitats and also the global habitats as a result. And although Hong Kong is 100% urbanized, we still have 75% of those areas where there's nature reserve, and at the fringe of our urban areas, we have our suburban new territory where the farmlands are. And there are a very few bunch of them, a few hundred of them left, and even lesser organic farmers or farmers that are practicing sustainable agriculture. They are working very hard to protect and also to preserve our local little climate and habitat of soil health. And so we would like to send this strong message back to all of us today, is if because you are coming to today's forum because you are seeking for solution, and you are seeking for even collaboration opportunities, or even trying to understand the issue about climate and also sustainable development. I would encourage you to take the opportunity over the next weekend or the next few weeks weekend to visit a local farmers market, speak to a local farmer, go and visit a local farm, or no self-promotion intended, but you can even get connected with the organizer, and we can see how to arrange a farm tour or urban farm visit to you, and we can have a deeper conversation about how to all come back and have the down-to-earth solutions where we can act together and create that impact. And so a little bit more also about the efforts that the team has been working relentlessly past 5 years, is that we've created about 60 over projects, managing about 30 of them, and we create this just capacity for local production, and that really encouraging to see that is a second most priority, which I think our local feels that is need to be addressed. And of course, this can't be done with us alone. There's a lot of partners, including the local farmers that have been working with us, local communities, the rest of the stakeholders, including people who own and develop our urban spaces. They are also a very important stakeholders. We need to have them to coming together in the conversation. We have the government as well, the Department of Fishery and Agriculture. They're actively engaging in conversation with us, looking into the future development possibility of urban agriculture as part of our lifestyle, right? So, well, media, I won't touch too much on that. We are very fortunate to have a few awards and also some global media coverage over the years. And I just like to share with you a particular example where this is a civic kind of, or also I would say bottom-up led initiative from an airline where their staff are in Lantau, in a very relatively isolated location on a building, right? And for them, we converted around a 2,000 square feet urban farm on the rooftop, right? And through that, we are engaging their staff and even their families, and they bring their kids over to have education about food, to have a experience about this whole conversation and understanding about how to grow food on its own. On top of it, even during normal tours, when they have invited local schools students to tour around the facility, they will bring them to the urban garden and to also learn about the sustainability efforts that the corporation has introduced and put in, right? Under the corporation and also under the group, right? The entire commitment for sustainability. So we can see that all these are shared values that we can actually bring in through just some innovation, some ideas, and also efforts, collaborations, multi-stakeholder engagements coming in and joining efforts to make it happen. And of course, with COVID, we would love to have a lot more engagements like this. But at the same time, we are not stopping there. Just like today, even through the internet, in fact, we find that we can actually reach a much larger crowd and wider crowd, right? Even cross geographical into Greater Bay Area when we look into the whole regional kind of co-development, right? And definitely it is a joint effort, right? And so we introduce a series of virtual lunch and learn experience where people can, we even ship some of those growing kits to them and let everyone has a hands-on experience. So it's just thinking through how at different situation, every risk also bring in new opportunity to push forward the sustainability agenda or sustainable development agenda, right? So with that, of course, our whole being an impact business or social enterprise, I think Joyce also mentioned earlier about the understanding of social enterprise, right? So we have to us, our business is not the end goal that we're trying to reach out. We are not here to sell the city some system or services and stuff like that. But those are our mean as a business model to achieve a more impactful in terms of social and also environment, governance, ESG, well you call it, right? And align with the UN SDG various, I'll come to it later. But at the same time, we are also supporting our local community in terms of training retirees to put them into their second career development and supporting community gardens. Also, other low income or people with disabilities, we train them to be farm assistants or involved in our outreach programs. And of course, future generations, when we talk about future generations, it actually includes you and me as a future generation of green warriors for the city. So these are the theory of change that we say, okay, we don't stop at output there, talk about square feet, talk about how many carbon offset footprint or things that we talk about, right? We look into what has changed also in terms of behavior, in terms of that impact, right? The outcome as a result of it, and how does this actually align together with the global movement towards driving that impact and change. And so with the remaining time, I'd like to share with you a few very down-to-earth collaborations that I would call. It is initiated, some is initiated by us, some is initiated by our partners, and some is our client, and some is from our intern as well. And we develop them into viable projects. For example, on the issue of food waste, when I just mentioned about, every day we have 3,600 ton. I think everyone familiar with this number already. You should daily that is actually going into the landfill, right? Food waste. But I think fewer knows that every day in Hong Kong we actually only consume about, or we consume about 2,000 ton of veggies, right? What is the implication? What does it mean, right? It almost it means that we are actually throwing more food than the veggies that we consume every day. Okay, every day. As we speak, yesterday we just also throw away more food than the veggies that we consume, right? So is it really an issue today that we face is shortage of supply or not enough food? Or is rather our current lifestyle is driving that unsustainable issue, right? So is this more important or critical to increase supply by factory production or food factory production into buildings, into looking into all the various ways to just purely pump up supply and production, or is more critical that at the same time or even put as a priority to address our unsustainable lifestyle, right, or urban lifestyle? So this one, I leave it to all of you. And if if today's sharing has moved you in some ways and you like to collaborate in those projects that we are sharing, do feel free to reach out with the organizer as well. Okay, and on the food waste issue, we just say that, okay, there are currently centralized systems, right, that is actually very heavily dependent on, and it actually requires a lot of carbon footprint, or emits a lot of carbon footprint in the process of doing that. Because to have a bigger facility, you need to kind of stay away further even from habitats or people or residents areas, right? So we ask ourselves, another way is, can we put some innovation in it? And by decentralize this process, coupling with a centralized, right? Can we have a more comprehensive ecosystem way of addressing food waste? And by addressing those food waste issue on site and partnering with buildings, we are also reducing the burden and loads to our centralized system, right? So and we also look into the efficiency, or currently the centralized efficiency of converting, addressing, especially about food waste. How much of them are actually converting into useful items, right? Apart from energy, right? Energy is one of it, but it requires huge facility and huge capital investment. Another thing is about composting, right? That things that can be used back for garden, right? And how successful are we on those more attainable around community? And is centralized a better way of doing it? Or maybe we can think of a decentralized way. So a few of us just come with it, and with our team, a very young team, relative young team, we kind of propose and start experimenting. Say, can we apply technology and through a smart algorithm, right? We understand better the process of composting, and we increase the success rate of it, right? And then we go apply and have a chat with the recycling fund, and we get support from it. And we're now in the process of developing that, implementing that decentralized food waste system where it can be installed in buildings, and also working with your current existing food waste machines, where we can increase the success rate of compost generation. And with that compost, then it can go back to the urban farms that around the community, right? And over the long run, then you see that we're actually converting our urban resources or waste, right? And converting them into a very useful product to green our community, but also not stopping there, engaging community, most importantly, building the community around a sustainable lifestyle. Okay, so I'll go a little bit faster in the interest of time, but also just to share with you is in the whole engagement, why we say it very down to earth, because we engage local schools, and you'll be surprised, right? How much idea on conversation that when we think about future or sustainability, we go to all those global consultants or those. I'm not saying that we shouldn't go there, but at the same time, if we also engage our local, we generate a lot of interest with primary students, building systems, building smart open source technology, while the university students are building that smart system at the side of it, right? So all this learning can be together and can be learned together as a community. And moving it further, the opportunity of Hong Kong. So there's studies done with a professor in Hong Kong U through satellite. We actually have 6 million, all right, square meter of farmable spaces on rooftops currently. What does it mean? Well, if you look at Hong Kong's population, right, basically every one of us just take care of less than 1 meter square of space. We just learn how to garden and farm. We could convert that 6 million square meter of space. And when come to our current situation of Hong Kong, the farmable areas or the active farms for Hong Kong is merely about 7 million square meter. Okay, by activating the idling space of our urban cities, current urban cities, we could double the local food production. If production is an issue that you're talking about, right? But at the same time, those community farms, decentralized areas are also point of resilience hotspot where we actively engage in building communities and building social capital around that. So putting all these values coming back, the potential is just fantastic, all right? And other projects that we look into is also there's a huge conversation about renewable energy, about solar panel, and a lot of them straight away think about, oh, okay, so a lot of rooftop, right? Are you in competition with solar panels? You know, they also need sunlight. Agriculture also needs sunlight. Can they are they kind of mutually exclusive, right? And straight away people think that, oh, maybe solar panel is easier, easier to calculate. There's currently a high rebate, right, by taxpayer money, right? Also, or other way, to basically rebating that renewable energy, right? There's a formula calculation of ROI for that, right? So naturally, people might just go for that solution straight away. But we also encourage all of you or all of us to think, and don't just stop there. Think how we can coexist, right, in terms of a community. And that is very well researched and also a lot of practice in the world of AgriVoltaics, right? AgriVoltaic that we are talking about. In fact, a study have shown by having agriculture coexisting with solar panel, it helped to reduce the temperature below the solar panel and increase the efficiency of those solar panel by 20 to 30%. And at the same time, you can grow food, right? So a lot of sustainable solutions is not about looking into one thing and then using that to displace community, displace other things, but rather we think as an ecosystem with our planet Earth as a center, not so much about human, because the well-being of the planet directly relate or correlate to the well-being of a human being. So we need to think beyond our human-centric, but rather think one step further about planet-centric and how we can actually have that ecosystem. Okay. So lastly, we put the challenge to all of you, right? When we think about food system, when we think about this whole sustainable city, right? Just like that 6 million square meter, but when you bring it down to individual, it's just about 1 square meter less than that for every one of us, right? But at the same time, food system or the global food system is so complex, right? How do we together reshape the food racks for our future cities with more sustainable agriculture food, more real or whole food, we'll say, rather than processed food. And it's just like, wow, this is just unimaginable, right? But yet we can do it. We can collaborate it by simply look into our fridge today. And I encourage all of you to, if you're at home now, in office now, don't go away first, okay? At the end of today's seminar, open up your fridge, or when you get a ring during the break, open up your fridge, look into it. Do you have any local produce, or do you have any products that is locally produced by our organic farmers, or do you have more produce that is produced by sustainable agriculture, or what we call eating the rainbow, right? A variety of whole food and healthy produce, or the other way, right? And through that, through shaping individually our fridge, we are sending a very strong message to the food system, to the producer, to the supplier, in fact, that we demand a change, right? We would like to work together for a solution. So with that, I thank you very much for your time and welcome all your questions, and really invite all of you to join force together to be the down-to-earth solution for our planet and Earth, and rather than I would say the problem, very much the problem we are in our previous lifestyle.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Your presentation is wonderful, and therefore some audience do have question on you.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay. Okay, maybe I read them all. And,
sure.
Okay, you please take it.
Yes.
Are the norms and standard of building rooftop to welcome this type of vegetation is very strict or and very difficult to meet? Okay.
Yes.
Is there any condition in terms of waterproofing, for example? Okay. Are those norms a robot in setting up rooftop farm? Okay, this is the
last question. Is it
are those norms a robot in setting up the
robot?
The barrier? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Roadblocks. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
In setting up the rooftop farm. Okay, this is the from my audience. Another question from another audience is I think quite similar. What is the biggest challenges of implementing rooftop farming in Hong Kong? Like in terms of policy, zoning system, or urban planning?
Yes.
I think this question maybe you can answer at all.
Yeah. Sure. I can address them together because I think very much valid. And thank you so much for posting them. And let me stress about the importance. And I think in my earlier presentation, also I mentioned that public safety is vital, is critical, right? Especially in the earlier years when we started the movement, and is not as popular, or not as the public awareness is not as wide, right? And what we need to ensure is that this whole proof of concept, when we talk about about 10 years ago, it need to work well. It need to create a positive experience, not just for people who are doing it, but also for the stakeholders around in the overall management of the environment, in terms of public safety, in terms of the eyes of the building. So let me just put it back into the perspective, is that for every rooftop farm that you have seen on the map that I've shown you, right? Each one of them has went through a very rigorous feasibility study, very rigorous site analysis, also rigorous loading, computation, and also safety in terms of inclement or adverse weather studies. Because in Hong Kong, we do have typhoon, and in fact, that sometimes we could have 2 typhoons coming together, right? And that wind speed and by the look of the rooftop farm that you just now saw is pretty much very exposed. So all this need to come back to a team of engineers, a team of specialists that work together, right, in installing or inputting the hardware of those urban farms. However, there's a big but to it, is that with the wisdom of human, we see a lot of challenging structures, challenging building or structural kind of build-ups around the world, and technical challenges could be addressed, right, with meticulous and caution computation, model analysis. What is more challenging is the mindset. The mindset of is unknown, it could be risky, let's not do it, versus there are calculated risks that we need to address. There's more important and pressing issue about sustainability and a generation that is not connected or disconnected with food, where we could effectively engage them through urban agriculture, right? And how do we do it safely, and how do we put innovation and time and effort in making that work? So there's two approaches to that. The real challenge over here is about us putting the mindset, giving time, pulling in resources, engaging to those stakeholders that have those resources, to invite them into this conversation, and also changing their mindset along the way, which actually you find a lot of times they are very supportive, provided, of course, we sit together and do that risk assessment.
Andrew, can I interpret that is there's no specific policy or regulation on rooftop farming, but there are some general safety regulation or building regulation that everyone have to follow, no matter is rooftop farming or not, is it?
No matter what we are doing, right? On a building structure, if we are putting any loads on a structure, it is our responsibility in a way, right? And also the responsibility of engaging the professionals to have the assessment. So farming is just one of the activity. Solar panel is the same. If you want putting up solar panel on a rooftop, I believe, and better be, right, you have done the loading analysis and calculation. And at the same time, with urban farming, a lot of times we are using a lot of removable kind of planters, right? We're not doing structural kind of builds onto the building itself. But for example, what we understand, because I'm also helping some farms in a larger scale, about 10-20 hectares, to develop AgriVoltaic kind of solutions in other areas. Those are land farms. But what we understand from putting in solar panel structures is a lot of times you need to embed or build them on those rooftops, right? And create certain temporary structural kind of integrity. So those actually also required a little bit more complex studies. Coming back to waterproofing, it's the same. All the building regulations in terms of the current building, whether it's suitable or not, in terms of the feasibility, we need to have a clear study, understanding of it before that to happen, right? So you can now understand actually the challenges, but at the same time, is whether we are put back by the challenges, or we realize the importance of the issue or the impact, right? That we would be co-creating with the community, and we together come with the efforts to overcome those challenges and have them, right, really creating impact and changes.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. But I think we are running really out of time. And it is very interesting. I do understand that there are different values on the rooftop farming.
Yes.
May multiple. I have one simple question, but please answer very simple.
Sure.
What is the profitability?
Profitability?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Simple question.
Yes.
Simple answer, please.
Yes. So profitability, we look at, again, as an impact investment point of view, right? We look at both the financial and also the impact that is being created, including the carbon in terms of environment, but also importantly, the social capital that we are creating. So when you add them together, yes, please stay there, right? Okay, so this picture is the short answer, right, to all this, right? When we look at the curious eyes of the generation, when we look into the application of technology, urban agriculture as a service model, as a lifestyle, we are tapping very much into the knowledge-based economy of our current GDPs, and it could create tremendous value, right? Both in terms of financial, in terms of environment, and also social, right? And we just act together, right? Working out that formula of that ROI, right? And you will be blown away in a way, right? By the tremendous value that it is created. And this picture is so lovely is because just now I think Felix also mentioned, it's 100% female and woman over there, right? They are also our future, right? They are part of our community and future, and this is a good example of the women power that.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for your time, and definitely we will work for the future generation.
You can, I guess you can send more questions to the organizer, and we're happy to engage with you as well.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Time for our break, but because of the we are running out of time, maybe just 10 minutes. We shall have a 10 minutes break. See you in 10 minutes later. Thank you.